Today, we've got a fun one, everybody. We've got my buddy Colin here, Colin Davis. We met about 15 minutes ago. We followed each other on Instagram about a month ago, and he's a super dope dude, and we have a lot in common, and we have a lot of shit to say. Colin, this is your first time ever on a podcast, which is crazy.
It is. I've been talking for a long time, since I was probably 3, but first time talking on camera and recording it with someone else. So I'm excited. We share a lot of similar views in, I think, specifically the online coaching world. It's hard to find people like that, for me at least.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll have all Colin's stuff in the description, but I don't want to spend 30 minutes introducing him. We're just going to dive into the fun today. We're going to talk about something that I've been kind of talking a lot about on Instagram. Colin talks a lot about on Instagram too, and on TikTok. The whole red pill wave that's kind of going through social media right now. I mean, it's been around for years. We're going to talk a little bit more about what red pill is, why it's actively harming pretty much every single person that touches it, and why it's basically an entire movement made by nothing but grifters that want your money. We have a lot to say about this. I know Colin has a lot to say about this, and we're just going to keep it relaxed and have a good time. So first things first, I feel like you'll give a better description than I will. What would you describe red pill as?
Red pill originated as a 4chan kind of Reddit meme of obviously the Matrix scene, red pill, blue pill, which reality do you want to stay in? And I think it spawned out of an anti-woke, anti-PC culture that was really rampant on the internet in the early 2010s, right? We start to see red pill come into the vocabulary of these online forums in 2012, 2014 kind of area. And that's deep 4chan. We're not reaching most of the internet with it yet. And then it starts to become really popular as we see Trump's first kind of campaign come into play, right? And kids are using it as a pushback against the Democratic establishment, or however they see that, as they're feeding us this narrative of we have to be PC and we have to be, aligned with everyone's values. So I'm going to take the red pill, I'm going to step out of that culture and do my own counterculture thing where I can say slurs and be an asshole to people and get rewarded for it. And I think that is a decent wrap up of what the red pill means, is I am stepping outside of what I see as mainstream culture, which is woke, anti-PC kind of culture, and then being oh, I'm not that. I am very strongly not that. I say slurs and I'm cool on the internet and I drink raw milk. It's their attempt at a counterculture movement, but there's no culture behind it. It's just hatred. So it's kind of confusing to me on how you can build a culture around just exclusion.
You're telling me you didn't eat a sirloin steak with raw honey and raw milk on a wooden cutting board for breakfast this morning?
No, dude. No, really? I forgot my berries,
bro?
Too.
I'm
not a real man.
No, you're definitely not a real man if you're not eating off a wooden cutting board. Come on,
dude. I use ceramics like a woke soldier.
Oh my gosh, your gains. I mean, the microplastics are just seeping into you. Anyway, yeah, no, I think you hit it right on the head. That's a good source of what the origin really is, and ultimately, where I really got exposed to red pill and what I really see red pill as is entirely through social media. I don't live in a really big town. I don't live in a big city, so I don't see it very much. I mean, I live in a pretty right-wing area, so I know a lot of people that would prescribe to the red pill, but what I see red pill as, you said it really interesting, you built a culture off of hate. That's effectively what it is. I understand that, too much woke is annoying, I get it, I see where that's coming from, but the culture on hate is a big deal. I also see it a culture built off of exploitation, and really where I see it, where it's really alluring for a lot of young guys who, it's not even, yes, is it political? Sure. But I'm more so speaking on lifestyle. It's teaching a negative lifestyle for guys. And it's now becoming shoehorned in as a way to save young men from the 9-to-5 rat race. Because, he and, Colin and I are both in the online coaching sphere. There's a lot of red pill alpha male gurus in the online coaching sphere that are there to steal your money, right? And, I can name names. There's hundreds of them. It's not how to build a relationship, how to have a family, how to build financial security. It's how to make $100K a month. It's how to sleep with 100 women in a month. It's how to get 6-packs with no work. Let me sell you a supplement. Let me sell you, my dating course to manipulate women. It's stuff around that where they package the idea of what young guys think is sexy, what young guys think is what they want, when in reality, what most people want isn't that. What most people want is a family, a job that pays their bills, and some people to hang out with, and like, you know, maybe not hate yourself the whole time. But I think being around a community of people who lack that empathy and people who lack that deeper understanding or willingness to understand the other side is really hurting guys 16 to 20, because they get out of college, they get out of high school, whatever, you know, in that 5 to 10 year age range, which, I mean, Colin's 24, I'm about to turn 24. We're in this age range too. We did not prescribe to that, and I'd like to say we're both doing pretty okay, right? And we've seen a lot of guys flock to us. I mean, Colin's got a pretty massive following. I've got a pretty decent-sized following. People prescribing to that ideology, but what we're trying to do is save, basically, the younger generation from falling into that hatred, because it's not going to get them anywhere but hateful areas.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's kind of ironic that a lot of these guys are selling like dating courses and like how to get girls courses, because they're just like, they're rampant misogynists, right? They actively, you can tell kind of through their language, they just don't view women as in the same light as men. And that is like just foundationally, like, you cannot build a relationship without baseline like human level respect and empathy for your partner. And then like that gets pushed back on by these red pill guys. It's like, oh, you're being weak, or like, oh, you're gonna let a woman run your life. And it's just such a wild misunderstanding of like what human connection could be for so many people. Like phrasing it as this like, oh, like I'm chasing or like I'm attracting girls. It's like we're all just people. Like we're all just hanging out. And I think that, like, again, that culture of hate, it pushes you farther away from people that you might be friends with. It pushes you farther away from forming a real meaningful relationship with someone of the opposite gender. It pushes you away from like bonding with older generations or younger kids. Like if you hate one group, it's hard to go into the rest of the world without hatred. Like that's going to be kind of your baseline once you start subscribing to that in any lane, you know, whether it be like, I hate guys that are smaller than me, or I hate women, or like whatever it is. As soon as you pick any group to kind of shit on and put your problems on, the rest of the world is going to become your problem. And I think a big appeal to young men out of this culture is that lack of self-awareness and that lack of like self-discipline, or like recognizing that I am the problem. Sometimes everything is not my fault. The world is not on my shoulders. But there are definitely times where it is my responsibility to fix a situation that I fucked up. And that takes me going, I made a mistake. I am going to apologize for that mistake. And then whether they accept my apology or not, I'm good, right? But when you are able to go, well, it's not my fault, it's their fault, then it's shirking that responsibility onto another group, and it makes your life way easier for like a short amount of time. It solves all of your problems in the short term, right? But then long term, you end up with just only more and more and more problems because you've never dealt with the root issue, which is like inside of yourself.
We're going to talk a lot about, you know, building self-respect, building self-love, how to build a solid foundation for self-improvement, both around fitness, because that's what he and I both know. That's what you and I both know. But it's like, you're completely right. And what I find way more fascinating is a short-term solution to a long-term problem. And it does put a billy goat, and it puts a scapegoat, any of their issues. And it, you know, when you hear these people that are responsible for the red pill community, they talk about, you know, having a wife that submits to you. It's like, dude, this guy's 16. He's never even had a girlfriend, and you're telling him to go find a trad wife that submits to him and makes him steak with organic milk. That's not going to work. And he's going to he's setting vastly unrealistic expectations on what the world really looks like. And then when he gets culture shock, he feels isolated because he's being told that the world is one way. He online through a screen, he's getting told the world is this way. This is how I have everything that you want. This is exactly how the world works. And then when you leave and you actually go to a party, or you go to the gym, or you go to any sort of social setting around a diverse group of people, you're going to learn very quickly that that's not how the world works. Hate is not how things get pushed forward. And call it cheesy all you want, love is the answer. It's the truth. I have made hundreds of posts on social media. That's how Colin and I got connected. It's how you found me. Like I'm sure you've gotten several too. I've gotten several DMs from TikTok and Instagram saying, dude, you have really helped guide my decision making. And these are guys that are 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 23, like our age. I've had guys in their 50s reach out to me and tell me my content is speaking to them, because they're like, I find like this is what I needed to hear so long ago, you know, because there is so much BS BS. And I want to hear some of your experience interacting with the red pill community. I only have one quick story, so I'll share it real quick. My experience is two of my friends that I went to school with in high school. It was our first 2 years out of college. So it was like COVID plus one. COVID, like, so 2020, 2021. And I was finishing up community college. I had just lost all the weight, and I was studying for my PT certs at the time. So I was just out there. I was in the corner grinding. I was kind of doing my own thing. Three of my friends all moved in together. And then I can't even remember the guy's name, but he was a complete fucking bonehead. They were watching this dating. It was specifically around like dating. Okay, and this was a mastermind guru, and he was talking about how to use the red pill to get women to sleep with you. And they would openly tell me that they would have a competition with how many women they could sleep with. They would have a party, invite a bunch of guys, like their main core of guys, but they would try to bring as many girls as they could, and they would try to make a competition by the end of the summer who could sleep with more women. And it was like, I'm like, dude, you're 21 and you are like openly like just using these people. Like literally you're talking to other people about how you're using them. And I don't know about you, I've been in a relationship for 6 years. So seeing that, I'm like, I need to step the fuck away from you guys, and you need to figure out what the hell you're doing, because this is not how you're supposed to conduct yourselves. I tell them to their faces every time we bring up that point, you were an insufferable human being, and I needed to distance myself from you when you were in that phase of your life. Thank God you were out of it. Now, luckily, they're both now in long-term relationships. One of them has seen the light. The other one, maybe not. But regardless, that was when I first kind of just heard about what red pill was, and I immediately kind of got my extreme distaste for it.
Yeah, it's ironic that I think, like, imagine what those guys would say if they online saw, like, a podcast of a girl being like, yeah, me and my girls, like, have a competition every summer to see who can fuck more guys. They would be raging, calling them whores and, like, oh, my God, these women, purity culture. As soon as it's on them, it's fine. It's cool.
I'm a high-value male. I can sleep with whoever I want.
Exactly. And, I'm not a slut shamer, right? If you want to go fuck a bunch of people, do it. Awesome. If you like have a bunch of consenting partners that want to sleep with you, A+. But what's shitty is like treating it like sport and treating it like this like thing, like I'm only sleeping, like they're only sleeping with other women for male validation. They have no interest in building connection. They have no interest in just like pleasure with another person. The only reason they're doing it is so that they can leave the room and go tell their boys, which is like
sounds kind of gay if you ask me.
Yeah, like they don't realize like how much they're really missing. You know what I mean? Like, so back to the original point of like red pill content, like I've been on the internet for a long time. Like I spent my time on 4chan. I spent my time in the trenches on on Pole, and like I've been there, and that is where I first started to get introduced to it, is by kind of like just being in those forums and in those like websites back then that were like kind of the forefront of that like edgier like dark comedy, and like starting to see that and like probably sophomore junior year of high school, but it was only like the internet kids that would get it, you know what I mean? Which was like funny for me because I was a very stereotypical like cool guy, captain of the wrestling team, like always had a girlfriend, like lifted a bunch of weights, but also like internally most of my time I was just like an internet lurking weirdo. And so I got to kind of play both sides there. And when that red pill content and like that term started getting tossed around, at the same time we started to get like high value man and like trad wife and all these these terms that are now like people on like the Senate floor are using. Was like a decade ago you got looked at like a fucking freak for even mentioning it. And like honestly I miss it. Like I miss when, like, if you said that you spent 8 hours a day on the internet, someone was like, dude, get a fucking life. But now that's just, like, the norm. And I think the further that we move our lives online, the further we're going to get these, like, weird radical circles of content that push people to be hatred. They push people to be misogynistic. They push people to, like, have these weird competitions with each other because it's, like, a constant comparison game of, like, am I doing better than someone else, right? Because I think that's what a lot of that content is like you have to beat somebody else. Like I have to make more money than this guy so that I can get a wife, or I have to sleep with more girls than this guy so that he knows that I'm valuable. It's a constant comparison of yourself to everyone else based on generally like money, sex, and muscles, which again, like when you're 14, 15, 16, that is like it. That is the world to 15, 16, 17-year-old boys, especially guys that are like on the football team or like on the wrestling team or like in a contact sport where like they need to like prove their masculinity to someone else. I've made videos about it, but like that used to come from like brothers and coaches and fathers and friends. But now, like you were saying, that kid is in this online community and he goes to the gym and somebody calls him a fucking weirdo, as they should, and he goes, oh my God, like my worldview is shattered, right? I have two options here. I can go into the world and try to relearn everything that I just learned while I'm in the super like fragile state, or I can further dig myself into this online community, continue to believe what's happening, that I've already been told, and that reinforces it. Any negative talk about that community reinforces the fact that they're right. And it pushes people farther down the rabbit hole the more that they're like encountered with a differing worldview. And they don't accept it. Because they have the option to just be like, oh no, that guy's an asshole, I should listen to my friend. But unfortunately, a lot of people can't like separate real world and online. And so they take the online group chat as like, oh, these people will be with me forever. Like, they've helped me get this far. Like, I'm going to latch on to them. With teenagers, like, I feel bad bashing them because you can't really blame the kid because he's just looking to figure out, like, what the world looks like. How do I become a man? Like, these are really big questions for a teenage boy to be dealing with. And to have it laid out for you and then have, like, whatever, some kid with blue hair be like, you're an asshole and I hate you. You're like, yeah, that guy on the internet is right. You are whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? Like, it just reinforces the idea that they're right the more pushback they get. And that's where we end up just, like, bashing heads with each other of me going, oh, I hate you, and them going, oh, I hate you. And then no one gets anywhere.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you touched on it a little bit earlier. I see it as it's hard to discern and analyze a solution to a problem that you don't really know that you're having when you're younger. Mm-hmm. So really, you're not thinking of in a super reflective manner when you're at, 16, 18, 20, whatever it might be. You're just wanting a solution. You want any sort of framework for life that sounds good to you. And the people that are selling these communities where you can make $10K a month after 2 minutes of effort or, sleep with 100 women in 6, whatever, right? That's providing a framework for life. It sounds attractive only to isolated young guys. That's the only people that prescribe to that.
Yep.
And so the problem is, A, isolation, and then they get brainwashed into this forum, into this mindset, this community, and then when there's any layer of pushback, that's when the dynamic that you said comes in. Either they say, fuck you, this guy was right, or it's like, wait a minute, it depends on how long they're in, because the more you drink the Kool-Aid, the harder it is to snap out of it, So what I encourage a lot of people to do that see it or they don't know red pill, whether you know what red pill is or not. I had a couple people ask me what red pill was the other day, which I thought was interesting. It shows that I need to talk about it a little bit more. Whether you know what it is or not, or whether you're in it or not, maybe you're the most red pill, maybe Andrew Tate is watching this video. Who gives a fuck, right? I look to live my life. With the lowest amount of regrets possible. And the lifestyle that the red pill provides only stacks regret. And it gives what I think I would want at an artificial level, billions of dollars. It's going to tell me I'm going to get it, but I'm not actually going to get it. Millions of dollars, lots and lots of sex, lots and lots of muscles. You're using steroids, you're manipulating women, and you're scamming people on the internet. You lack empathy, you're going to have no fucking friends, and you're going to stay just as isolated as you were when you got started. So what I encourage, it really just comes from basic sliver of empathy. That's really all it is. Really what it ties into, though, it's the dialogue, the inner dialogue, right? When it's an isolated, impressionable, younger man. It doesn't even have to be a young guy. I know guys in their 20s, 30s, 40s still dealing with this, right? The internet has caused a plethora of really severe identity issues because we are now thinking other people's thoughts way more than we're thinking our own. You go to school or you go to work, then you come home and you look at your cancer box for 6 hours, and then you go to sleep, okay? When you're looking at your phone, you're consuming, you are not creating. When you are consuming, you are not having an original thought. You are getting your thoughts thunk for them. Like, they're getting your thoughts thunk for you, excuse me. And when that happens, you lack the skill to create original thought. You lack the ability to have a conversation with yourself. And that's why I think the gym is such a fantastic outlet for people trying to discover themselves, trying to figure out how to improve their self-talk. Because first of all, having a big juicy chest really does good things for your confidence. Okay, that's the first thing. That's the one that everybody knows, right? But it's deeper than that, because you learn lessons about life, about repetitions, about showing up on the bad days. You also can develop a really solid sense of community. You and I were just talking before we got started recording about how much we both liked in-person training. I don't do it anymore. You still do. There's a deeper level of connection that can happen there. You know, knowing your neighbor. You should know your neighbor. I have a fantastic relationship with all of my neighbors. I got a 10-year-old boy that I play catch with almost like once or twice a week. And I love doing that. You know, it's super fulfilling for me. I've got some really tight friends that invited me. I'm in their wedding this year now, and I've lived next to them for a year. Like, I have good people near me. Not everyone's going to be awesome, but you have to be willing to stick your neck out there more in person to show and express that empathy. And I talk a lot about when you lack identity, you're incredibly fragile, whether you don't want to say it or not. Man or woman, anything in between, you're incredibly fragile when you lack identity. And so you latch onto things really, really hard. And that's why Red Pill catches so many men in that state. Because what you're most afraid of is what you ultimately need to become most of the time. But Red Pill is like, yeah, fuck all that. Let me give you everything you think you want. So when I'm scared of not liking myself, I can blame the world for that, or I can blame myself and take some accountability. I say, have conversations with yourself when you were younger and have conversations in yourself when you're older. How can you die with the least amount of regrets, and how can you fulfill the most childhood dreams that never got fulfilled? If you can do those two things, you're gonna have a kick-ass life. And if you do that, but also like spreading some fucking love and helping other people do the same thing, it's going to be a lot easier. But that is an incredibly difficult journey, and it's a hard thing to sell. And the people that aren't in Red Pill, like you and me, we're empathetic human beings. We don't like scamming people. So we don't spend our time creating schemes to lure people into our pyramid scheme, or whatever the case it might be. So completely unorganized rant over. I want to hear your opinions on how it affects self-talk and how you think, you know, where that dichotomy comes from when you have an isolated person, when you, a man, woman, anything in between at any age, somebody that is isolated, someone that doesn't know what to do with their lives, somebody who feels alone. There are millions and millions and millions and millions of those kind of people. What do you think the self-talk with Red Pill versus everything else?
Yeah. I mean, I think the isolation is a key factor of why it works, right?
Yes.
If I have all of my needs being met in the real world, then an online group chat that I have to spend an hour every day checking and responding to doesn't, like, I don't have time for that, dude. Like, I gotta, like, feed my dog and, like, hang out with my friends and, like, go to work and, like, do all of this shit, right? But if I'm alone, I don't have a community around me, I don't have a good relationship with my family, or I have, like, shitty friends around me, then, like, that's really appealing because it feels like a way out. It feels like someone throwing you a rope and being like, hey, come with me. I made it to the top. I'm going to help you get to the top, too. I get pushback when I call them cults, but, like, it's the exact same framework as how cults work, right? You find someone that is hitchhiking, right? Let's put it in, like, the 60s. People love to think about cults like that, right? You find some guy hitchhiking. He hates his family. All of his friends hate him. He just broke up with his girlfriend, and he's like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. That is the guy that you want in your cult, because you can feed him all of the information about how the world works, how everyone else is going to treat him, and then condition him to get those responses out of people so that when he goes into the real world and he shares these ideas, people shun him for it. And then he comes back looking for that acceptance that he found the first time and getting it tenfold, because his ideas about himself have been, like, bolstered by the world, right? When a Red Pill creator says that all liberals are angry and they hate you and they hate white men, and then I go online and I say some ridiculous statement like women should only sleep with one man in their entire life, and then a girl in the comments goes, you're a fucking idiot, this is wrong. I go, see? I knew they hated white men. He was right the whole time. There's no, like, I'm an asshole and I made an asshole comment and someone called me on it. They hate me. They hate everything that I am and everything that we are in this group. And it pushes kids and young men further into these circles because they're being taught to go be assholes and be crass and try to piss people off. And then people get pissed off and they're like, see, I knew you hated me. I was right the whole time. With the self-talk of that, like, they're training you to hate yourself. They're training you to go, I am never rich enough. I have never had enough girlfriends. I have never made enough money. I'm never big enough. My life is a constant grind to get to this imaginary goal that never exists of a happy life with a ton of money and a bunch of babes and like a Lambo or whatever. And so when you're in this constant cycle of I'm not good enough, I need to do more, I'm not good enough, I need to do more, it feels productive. It feels like I'm conditioning myself to chase my goals, to never be satisfied, right? Which those things are fine. And like those are how, that's like kind of how you do great things, right? You need to be able to chase goals and like not be satisfied with what you have and have that constant progression in your life. But you can do that and like where you are. When I'm thinking about going and hitting another PR, I'm not like, I'm such a weak little bitch because I can't bench 365. I'm like, I'm pretty strong. I can bench 3 plates. That feels cool, but I would like to bench more. I like the process. I like the results. I want to do this for more time, right?
Yeah.
I'm not attaching myself to this like imaginary goal of betterment for betterment's sake. I am like looking at what I've already done. I'm going, wow, I'm really proud of this. I like what I've already done. I want to do more of that. And then continuing to build on that. And I think that's a hard like switch to get kids to understand of like, you can still be driven and you can still like chase things and you can still be like obsessive with your goals and also like yourself now, like yourself in your past and like your future self, right? One of my litmus tests for myself is like a check-in is like, would I grab a beer with myself? If I walked in somewhere and I was sitting down and I started talking to myself, would I hate that guy? Or would I be like, hey, this guy's pretty cool. I want to hang out with him, right? And for the longest time in my life, I was always kind of like, no, like I wouldn't like myself. In this theoretical, like, oh, yeah, I'd probably think that I'm a douchebag. It's because I was being a douchebag. You know what I mean? And at no point for that like couple of years was I like, maybe I should make a change. I was always like blaming it on some imaginary problem, right? Like, oh, well, like if I just make more money, I'll like myself. Or, oh, if I move jobs, I'll like myself. Or if I start dating a different girl, I'll like myself. There's always some sort of like external factor that you're looking for to change, to like solve it, when like the only solution is to love yourself. And that is such a gay thing to say to a 16-year-old boy. Like, I hate to like, there's like, as a 16-year-old boy, if some guy had come in and be like, hey man, love yourself, I'd be like, get the fuck out of my face. What are you talking about? Like, so I don't know how to like grow it up into like words that kids can understand, right? But I can do it like through like when they hit a PR, not necessarily congratulating just the PR, but being like, hey, I'm really proud of like all of the work you did to get this goal, right? Not just be like, hey, sick lift, but like, hey, reflect on everything that it took for you to get here and congratulate yourself. Because that feels corny, right? But it doesn't feel as corny as like all-encompassing self-love and acceptance, which is the end goal. But we got to start with like little bits and pieces that kids can bite off.
Definitely. I've been working, it's so funny because I had this exact same dialogues within my community, my clients, myself. I was just talking to somebody earlier about I call it a spectrum. You have a spectrum of gratitude and ambition. You can have ambition to want more things. You can have ambition to want a better life, make more money, have a better business, better physique, Striving to improve yourself is healthy. But also there's a spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is gratitude for what you're at now, where you're at now. And when you don't like where you're at now, and you don't want to live in that present moment of where you exist now, that can be incredibly motivating, but it also makes you incredibly vulnerable for manipulation. And that's where a lot of the red pill people strike in. Further on what you were saying about how can we frame this for people, I mean, grown-ass men don't like hearing it either. I've told it to grown-ass men. Most of the guys I work with are in their 30s and 40s, so this problem that I'm trying to attack here is just dudes. What you were saying was really interesting, though, because I'm trying to frame it for other people. It's not super cringy, cheesy, kindergarten level self-love. Love yourself. It's more of a, here's how you learn to respect yourself, like what you have, and not wake up every morning thinking you're not enough. That is something that I am very familiar with because that was the first 18 years of my life. And it's a relationship with yourself. Something that I've never really vocalized, but I've thought in different ways. But when the way you were speaking kind of brought it out, nobody ever becomes a red pill, asshole, misogynist, whatever, by hanging out by themselves and like trying to discover more about themselves. That never happens when it comes from within. That never comes from within. Unless you've been brainwashed or severely traumatized or whatever. But if you are sitting in a chair outside, like on your porch, right? I'm a big porch sitter. I love me a good rocking chair on a summer's eve. That's exactly what I'm about to do when I'm done here, bro. I'm hopping on the rocking chair and I'm drinking some of my raspberry black tea and I'm chilling. But you cannot tell me that a single soul has done some deep self-reflection, done some journaling, had a conversation with himself, which guys just aren't fucking doing, and say, you know what, I'm going to choose to manipulate women, scam people for their money, and be an asshole to everybody I don't like, and generalize at large for large groups of people. That doesn't ever come from source. Ever. The biggest threat is not having a conversation with yourself. And that's why something I like to tell a lot of people, you're going to learn a hell of a lot about yourself in the moments where you're letting yourself have fun and the moments where you're exercising. That's flow. When somebody is in deep focus, that is flow. There's a book that I read, pretty short read. It's called Joseph Wen, Don't Believe Everything You Think. It's a really good introductory understanding of, or just like a good angle around anxiety. I don't know about you. I suffer from pretty severe anxiety. Most people do nowadays, it feels like. Anxiety is too much thought about the future. I'm a huge philosophy nut. So a lot of my philosophy and inner work is tied into my message. Anxiety is too much thought about the future and not enough thought about the present. When you're flowing, it's being fully present and letting your body do the action. You're not thinking at all. When I play basketball, I'm a huge basketball fan. When I play a lot of basketball, I'm not thinking a goddamn thought.
No.
Stephen Curry, when he's dropping 40 on your favorite team, he's said in interviews, what are you thinking about when you're Not a damn thing. You're thinking too much. That's a huge part of this. You're thinking too much. And you might say, okay, how do I have a conversation with myself if I'm not thinking? That's the bitch of it all. You gotta uncover the ugly shit first. My first step to basically everything is call yourself out. Why the fuck are you here? I call it slaying the dragon. If you want to change your life and you don't know what you want to do, but you don't want to prescribe to the red pill, first of all, you're listening to two very, very well-educated young men that care very deeply about helping other men. So start there, first of all. I have all of Colin's stuff in the description when this video drops, so go follow him everywhere. Secondly, I call it slaying the dragon. Every hero's journey, when you are about to start a life-changing transformation, you have to be in a pit. You clearly want to change your life. You don't like where you're at a low point. You're in a pit. When the hero starts in any fantasy journey, there's going to be a dragon that he has to fight before he goes forward. He has to. You cannot pass go, collect $200. You have to fight this dragon and slay it before you can move forward. That is the habit that kills you. When I talk to my weight loss clients about it, I say, are you a stress eater? Are you a binge eater? Oh, you're a binge eater. That's your dragon. That's what we have to address first. Otherwise, none of this fucking matters. It's the pattern interrupt that needs to stop. Or that's what needs to happen. The pattern interrupt needs to happen so we stop that behavior. So first of all, you have to have a really uncomfortable conversation with yourself and say it objectively. Like the bar thing that you said. If I were to meet myself in the bar, if you were to meet yourself at a bar, would you be proud of who you were? Why not? If you can answer the why not, that's the core fucking issue. That's it right there. And if you can identify that, that gives you, that you shouldn't feel bad about that. Most men will never do that. Most men have a horrible time taking accountability. By the way, the best men I know all take a wild amount of accountability, sometimes too much. There's 𝐬𝐤𝐸 𝐸. He has Extreme Ownership, I think his book is called. That motherfucker's one of the baddest mofos on a planet. It's a Navy SEAL. I have a cousin that was just visiting down from a few hours down. It was a MARSOC Marine Raider, which is the Marines equivalent of a Navy SEAL. And he was talking about the ethos that you adopt within that branch of men. And he was talking about how none of them are crazy poncho guys. He was actually kind of shit-talking the Navy SEALs, which I thought was funny. He was saying, nobody has an ego. Nobody cares. You adopt the ethos of the silent professional. You walk in, you get the job done, you prepare, you get the job done, you leave. You don't complain, you don't bitch, you don't moan, you don't gloat. You go home. And if you do that, and you can have empathy for the ones around you, That's what I think masculinity is. The only way to get that is having a really, really difficult conversation with yourself that most men are avoiding.
Yeah. I think a point that my roommate makes that I really love, one of his philosophies is like radical honesty.
Yeah.
Right? The truth, no matter what. If that's to myself, if that's to someone else, if that's to whatever God I'm praying to, it is the truth. When someone asks me what I did today, if I spent 2.5 hours on the couch on my phone, I've been saying it as a joke, but someone will be like, oh, what'd you get up to today? I'm like, oh, well, I had lunch and then I laid down and consumed a bunch of short form video content for 2 hours. And that feels like shit to say. You know how bad that feels to say out loud?
Yes.
But it allows me to break the normalcy of it. It allows me to recognize that I'm not spending my time correctly, that I don't like the way I spent my time, and then I can change it. And I had to do that for so much of my life. Like, I would be like, well, why'd that relationship fail? I'd be like, oh, the easy answer is like, oh, well, she was a bitch, whatever, right? The more honest answer is like, I wasn't communicative. I was holding a lot of myself back from that person. I didn't really express what I wanted or needed at any point, and I just expected them to read my mind, and then I got mad when they didn't do that. That answer sucks dick. I hated telling myself that. I hated going into my journal and like rereading what I was talking about to myself and being like, damn, like that's really what I thought happened? Like I was lying to myself. And when you lie once, it becomes so easy to just lie. And to yourself, to others, to anyone else, right? And I think the internet is a place that's super easy to lie, right? I could go this weekend and like rent a Camaro and then like take a couple pictures in front of it and be like, thanks to all my new followers, just bought this supercar. No one would know, right? And so we're creating a culture where you can just lie and there's no repercussion. There's no negative for just not telling the truth anymore. And so these guys, these gurus can go lie and then get these kids to repeat these lies, and there's just no one checking any of it because like the sense of truth is just gone. And to your point of slaying the dragon, what we're asking for these guys leaving the red pill community is to slay a second dragon, because they think this red pill answer is them doing it, right? They're going, I'm broke, I'm fat, don't have a girlfriend, I hate myself, what do I do? And they've recognized all of these things that they don't like about themselves, right? And they have found a solution. It's not the right solution. It's not going to help them long term, but they have recognized a problem and done something about it, which is good, I guess. I'm glad that they can recognize problems, right? But we're asking them to do that over again and then take the hard way out, which is not an easy sell. Like no one wants to do that. The business is not booming over here on the not red pill side of this shit. Like I'm not raking in $20K a month on my online sales or in my fucking community or whatever.
Yet.
But like we're asking them to take accountability, learn empathy, have really, really hard conversations with themselves and other people, and then try to apply that into a world that doesn't really reward it, if we're being honest. Like, my life would be way easier if I just went online and was like, shut up, soy boy, I hate you. Like, that's the blueprint, right? For most content creators is go online, be aggravating, piss people off, be abrasive, and then get rewarded for it. And so having empathy and having long conversations and having, like, nuanced ideas and viewpoints on the world and yourself is like not a reality that exists on the internet, because everything's in 30-second bits, right?
Yeah.
This podcast, we're both going to clip parts of this podcast out and go put it on TikTok or Instagram, and people will get a snippet. Some of those clips will get probably tens of thousands of views, right? This full conversation will hopefully get a couple thousand, right? And so I can communicate like my little bit to most people, but people need this full nuanced approach to their life and like how you view yourself. And it's impossible to communicate that in 60 seconds to somebody, but that's the time frame that most content creators are working in.
That's why, first of all, you need to get on YouTube.
Yeah.
Second of all, you make some really solid points, and I think you're hitting the nail on the head yet again. I think anything worth having takes a tremendous amount of work.
Yeah.
It's the art of delayed gratification. And if you think about it, it's the manliest fucking thing that you can do. Taking shortcuts is a bitch move. You're a bitch if you take shortcuts. I'm gonna be honest. That's just how it is. That's not what I heard. Oh my god, dude! I had this comment drop on one of my videos recently, and it like, I might get it on my skin. I might get a tattoo of it. I'm dead serious. It says what she's like. It was a girl who commented it too, which was super interesting. She goes, whenever, I don't know why, whatever. She goes, whenever I'm having a hard time deciding something or going through a hard time in life, I ask myself the same question: what would the virtuous man do? Point blank. What would the virtuous man do? Like, call yourself out. Radical honesty. Yeah, I doom scrolled completely pointless content that moved nothing forward in my life whatsoever and just ruined my attention span for 2 hours. Virtuous man probably isn't doing that, right? And the virtuous man is kind of this perfect ideation of, you know, what men should be. I don't know if you're a big fantasy guy. I'm a huge fan of Lord of the Rings. Have you seen the films?
I have.
Aragorn. I mean, Aragorn. That's pretty much, you know, in my eyes, one of the best examples of peak masculinity. There's a couple we could pull out, right? Yeah. But I also have a Lord of the Rings quote on my fucking arm, so I talk about it any chance I can get. But when you talked about it's easier to be a red pill asshole dickhead. It's easier, and I'm not even trying to make this a political thing, like a belief at most points on the political spectrum and still be a solid person. I think right now, obviously, it's a little bit a different landscape, whatever. But that's not even really what I'm trying to focus on. If you treat your life like you're trying to find shortcuts and you are constantly blaming external factors for your situation, you are always going to be miserable. Mm-hmm. Always. And if you are leading with hate, especially of other groups, you are always going to feel that hate. Hate harms the vessel more than the target every time. Every time. So when you say it's easier in the short term, it's hell in the long term. Because you will continuously lead a life of hate. You continuously alienate yourself and ruin relationships and ruin your chance at ultimately a better life full of more fulfillment, right? When you were 7 years old, when you were 8 years old, you didn't want to be a hateful person, right? You have to have that conversation with yourself. I didn't want to end up like this. How can I change it? And back to what I was saying earlier, the art of delayed gratification, the art of showing up, getting your ass kicked, and showing up again and again and again and again, in my eyes, is one of the most masculine things you can do. Because that is how that's putting yourself under the iron. It's putting yourself into the furnace and getting better every day. And if you try to cut those fucking corners, what do you think is going to happen? There's a specific process for everything. Everything worth truly having that I think is naturally occurring, like real dopamine. Like there's artificial dopamine and then there's natural dopamine. Artificial dopamine is gooning on the internet to an OnlyFans girl. Artificial dopamine is eating a bunch of dog shit. I mean, all food fits. Everybody knows. Everybody here watching this knows I am not a toxic diet person. But if you are constantly just pounding nothing but potato chips and sugary candies all the time, that's artificial dopamine. If you're constantly chiefing the Benjamin Franklin and you can't go sober for more than an hour, that's artificial dopamine. That is a shortcut to happiness that will ultimately dig your grave deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. It's just how it works. Short term, it feels great. Long term, it will kill you. And we all die anyway, okay? So I'm not, whatever. But the stuff that's really worth having, the stuff that's natural, the stuff that we all have an innate desire for, which is financial security, familial security, community, which is on us to create communities online. It's on us to lead through example. It's on us to have a in-person community. I'm dabbling with the idea late in the summer to start doing like a run club or some shit, because I got a lot of people locally that like to rep my stuff. I'm like, let's create that community for people, right? Let's create something like that. It's on us to do it. Nobody else is going to. We do not have the frameworks societally for it to do that. It's harder than ever to do that. Like shit like book clubs and bowling leagues, that shit's dying. It's not. I think there's kind of a renaissance for it nowadays because people are realizing, like, wait a minute, doom scrolling every day sucks ass. But anything naturally worth having, for a lot of people, procreating, having children. I'm one of those people. I want to be a father. And everything that I do now is preparing me to be a better father. That's truly what I'm trying to do. Right? That's a natural source of dopamine. So every time I decide to not go buy a fancy car, every time I decide to continuously live well below my means and try to continuously stack my financial security, every time I try to learn a new skill that I think a man should know, is it annoying? Fuck yeah. Have I canceled plans because I was focused on learning this skill? Yes, I have. But ultimately, there's some sacrifices that need to be made, and you have to get a lot more comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's the manliest thing you can do. As soon as you realize shortcuts are the least masculine thing you can do, you're going to start calling yourself out. You're going to start feeling real uncomfortable trying to scam those women into sleeping with you on Bumble.
Yeah, man. I think it's like a larger issue than what we're specifically talking about, right? But like the red pill and like the gym side of the red pill is it's selling you the easiest route possible, right?
Yes.
It is them going, hey, I've got a 12-week course that is going to change your life. And we've seen this like marketing tactic in fitness for fucking ever. Like since the original Weeder magazines, like pre-Mr. Olympia, like they were selling courses, they were selling plans on like how to fix your problems in 8 weeks. Right? Because that is marketable. That is how you make money in fitness, is by selling people a dream. It is really, really hard to tell someone, hey, you have to show up for yourself every single day, be honest with yourself every single day, push yourself physically somehow every single day for a couple of years probably before things really, really get good. Right? But once they get good, it is better than anything that you would ever have otherwise, right?
Yeah.
The feeling of being able to go outside and like use my body and do cool stuff with it, right? I love hiking. I love fishing.
Yeah.
I love being outside, and fitness supports me being able to do that, right? I love grappling, right? Fitness supports me being able to do that stuff. That means so much more to me than anything else that I was chasing previously. And I don't know, like, if you've struggled with addiction or know anyone that has, but like in the program, right? I'm in AA. This is my favorite NA, baby. Like,
nice. That's cool.
I'm in the program, and like step 1 is like admit you have a problem. Step 2 is like want to change the problem. Step 3 is like turn your problems over to whatever higher power, right? And then fourth step, before you do any of the other shit, is make a list of everyone that you've ever wronged, every mistake you've ever made, and make amends for it. Right? Go through that list of girls that you didn't text back. Go through that list of homies that you don't hang out with anymore. Figure out, is that on me? Did I fuck that up? And then if it doesn't hurt them, reach out and be like, hey, I'm sorry. I was a piece of shit, and I'm trying to make a change for myself. And even if they don't respond, right? I made a lot of amends, and the majority of the people I never heard from. But that's fine. That's on them. I was an asshole to them. They owe me nothing in the grand scheme of things, right? But the people that did reach back out to, I've rekindled some great relationships with like friends that I thought I'd lost, right? Because of my actions. And all it took for me to fix that was taking accountability, letting them know that I took accountability, and then after that, proving it with my actions. And that's the thing you can do to build self-confidence, is prove to yourself through your actions that you are worthy of your own love, right? When I was drunk and high every day and sleeping with strangers and doing a bunch of bullshit, I didn't like myself. And I thought I was like, oh, I just need to love myself. I have this like theoretical, like, oh, just love yourself, right? But I had to take steps to change my life so that I could objectively look at my life and be like, I'm happy with that. I'm proud of everything that I'm doing. Because if it doesn't pass my bullshit meter in my head, I'm never going to convince myself of love. I have to like prove it to myself. And I prove it to myself by like being a good guy and like being a part of my community and like interacting with people in the real world and like meaningful ways as much as I possibly can. And I think the internet and internet culture just has like killed a lot of that in-person, like real community. And we've kind of commodified community. There's a great book I read called Bowling Alone, and it's about the death of community in America and the death of like civic activity. And we see a direct correlation of like how happy people are and how much they trust the world around them and how active they are in their community. The more you engage with people and the more you know the people that live directly around you, whoever that may be, if it's an 85-year-old lady that lives next door to you, bake her some cookies and go say hey. If it's a new 24 or 25-year-old dude that moved in, grab him a six-pack and be like, yo, let's go kick it on the porch. Like, it's going to be weird and it's going to be awkward at first, but it is so much more rewarding than just like consuming more short-form video content. Like, there's more to life than consuming short-form video content, which is ironic coming from a guy that creates short-form video content. But like, I wish this job didn't exist. Like, I love what I do. Don't get me wrong. I love what I do.
Yes.
But this should not be a career. Like, me making Instagram videos should not like pay my bills. I'm really grateful that it does, but it's insane to me that that's a real way that I can make money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like I'm like working a job. Like, I've worked jobs. This does not feel like work. But like, we need to like return. I think the pendulum needs to swing back, and I'm really scared that it's not gonna. But I think our generation and the generation below us has the chance to like really swing back to community and like just kicking it in parks. You know what I mean? Like, oh, me and 8 friends are just gonna go like sit in the field and talk for a couple hours. Like, that's community. It's not this like imaginary thing. Like, it doesn't have to be like a book club. It doesn't have to be an organized thing. It's like talking to someone in line at the grocery store. It's being a regular at a coffee shop in your town.
Give
know
them a nudge.
Yeah. It's all of these little connections that we're missing and that further drive people into isolation and self-hatred because they don't interact with anyone else in the world. And so the only view they have of themselves is their own.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you said a lot of really great things there. The first thing you said that I kind of want to tap into is you have to let yourself earn your own respect. There's 3 stages to that. You have to allow yourself saying, okay, I want to love myself, and I'm actively going to try to let myself love myself or respect myself, whatever you want to say. Then I'm going to go fucking earn it. Confidence comes from evidence. Go show yourself that you're that motherfucker. Because I can't walk around with my chest held high, puffed out like I'm some fucking gorilla man when I've gone to the gym once in 3 months. I'm lying. And people will be able to smell that. Real people who know how to interact socially will smell that and will call bullshit on you. And that will ruin your character. Do not talk out of your ass. And then once you let yourself earn it, that's when the respect starts to actually come in. Because once you start consistently stacking that evidence, then you can start to get somewhere. Then you can start to say, okay, I'm not as much of a piece of shit as I was. Maybe I do deserve at least a little bit of love, right? That's a huge part of it. And on the community thing, I'm a radical optimist. I always have been. I probably always will be. Despite how crazy the world may feel right now, I genuinely think that we are on the upswing of a renaissance, but I also believe that because I feel like I am a part of it, and I think you are too. I think people like us recognize that there's an issue. I think people like us, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, the internet is still in a very young place. Like, the internet's still very young, and it evolves in different ways. And then it gets better. I think we're on that point where it's starting to get a lot better. We're using the internet for a positive impact. A lot of us are. A lot of people are being scammy, asshole, bullshit, a-holes, whatever. That's always going to be a part of it. It's just like real life. It's just like real life. You take a sample size of 100 people. There's going to be 3 exceptional human beings. There's going to be 4 absolute dickweeds, and there's going to be 80 people in the middle. That's pretty much how it's going to go. That's how any selective test or any random sample of 100 people, that's going to be the chart. There's a math term for that. I can't think of what it is right now. But either way, the community starts with you. I tell this to my guys all the time. If you feel like you're not making friends, you first have to learn how to love and appreciate yourself, because then you feel like you're This sounds disingenuous, but it's not. You have to like what you sell, right? If you think you shouldn't sell yourself to anybody. It's not like a sales thing. You shouldn't be manipulating anybody, but you have to like what you sell. You have to believe in what you sell. You have to believe in you. So first of all, do some deep self-reflection. Do what you and I were speaking on. Call yourself out on your bullshit. Identify your problems. Identify what it is you want, right? What do I really want here? And how do I get there? It's the daily non-negotiables that we talk about. And when you look at it from a, red pill, blue pill, whatever, it's hard to sell the real transformation. It's still possible.
Yeah.
We're doing this. It's still possible.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to scam people into it. It's you have to show people this isn't what you want when you're looking at the red people thing. Like you don't want that. If you want to manipulate 30 women and try to scam people for money, don't fucking follow me.
Yeah.
Get out.
Get the fuck out.
I'm willing to help. I'm willing to help you, but get the fuck away from me. I don't want you here. Respectfully.
Yeah.
Okay? That's just how it goes. But I'm always going to be willing to lend the helping hand, and that's the last thing I want to touch on. To be community, to foster community, there's 3 things. You need to be willing to get embarrassed a lot.
Yeah.
You will always learn from embarrassment. Embarrassment is the fastest teacher. Mr. E is an asshole, but he teaches so fucking well. If you get embarrassed, you will never forget the lesson that you learned. Ever. Okay? But if you get embarrassed in a social situation, let's say Colin's going to the grocery store later tonight, and he's in line getting his groceries checked out, and he tries to make some random, conversation with some old grandma behind him, and she maces him. That's going to be embarrassing. But hey, he's got to keep putting out the nudges, because you have to be the change that you want to see in the world. So don't be afraid to give a nudge. The embarrassment is embarrassment's the cost of entry. That's what I always like to say. You're going to feel embarrassed by yourself. Embarrassment is the cost of entry for every big change that you actually have. Number 2, you got to be able to want failure at a radical rate. Failure is how you learn. If I told you you are 30 failures away from the life that you want, you should want to fail as fast as humanly possible. I said this to somebody the other day. She said it completely changed my brain chemistry. She texted me just now. I was telling you that earlier.
Yeah.
That is real. If you fail forward, fail fast. And then lastly, the whole podcast is kind of attacking the whole red pill aura, the whole red pill movement. Genuinely, the only way that I believe we're going to see change and shift away is we can disagree vehemently with these people. We cannot attack them the same way they would attack us, though. Mm-hmm. We have to be the change we want to see. We have to continue to treat them with respect. We have to continue to show them that there is another way. We have to continue to show them and lead by example to the people that are neutral, that are lost, that don't really feel like they know what they want to do, or the people that are deeply entrenched into those 4chan forums. You are living fucking proof that people can change. You are in those forums. Yeah. I never was, but either way, we're both still here. The journey still ends in the same place. So we can't treat the people that disagree with us like an enemy. Otherwise, we're the exact same fucking side of the same coin. We're on the same coin, different side of the same coin. So we have to approach everyone with empathy. Because I understand, we both understand, I don't know why I'm shouting. We both understand why people fall into this. It comes from desperation. It comes from isolation. It comes from just a need for a meaning. And I think that's my magnum opus. That's probably my finale of the conversation. I think we covered a lot today, but I want you to.
Yeah, dude. No, I love it. I think wrapping it up, like you said, like, and a point we made before we hit record, like, empathy takes so much work. It is so hard to be empathetic all the time, but like that's the reward we get is like, if I can stomach my own feelings and like be empathetic and really listen to someone and really care, I have so much more opportunity to really affect that person's life and like show them that they can live a different way than I ever would if I just took the easy road out and said, no, fuck you, I hate you. Like, which I feel like doing. Like, I feel like doing all the time. And it's really hard to not just like be like, shut up, you're insufferable. But like, they're looking for help and they're looking for community, and they found it in the wrong place, and they're getting sold snake oil by a salesman. And for us to affect any sort of change, it has to be like extending a hand and not like chopping the ladder in half. We have to be like, hey, like, we're trying to help you here, not you're wrong and I hate you. You should be on my team instead, right?
Yeah.
And I think you are doing a great job of that. I love everything you put out, fitness related, not fitness related, and like the way that young men can talk to themselves, and like the way people that are losing weight can talk to themselves. Like, it's such a difficult self-transformative process, and it's really easy to hate yourself along the way. And I think you're a shining example of how you can do it and come out of it loving yourself and chasing these goals long term, right? It's a quote that I love, but I can't hate myself forever, but I can definitely love myself forever, right? That short-term fuel of hatred isn't going to be the solution forever. It burns out really quick. But love, that is a flame that will burn for eternity. So, I don't know. That feels poetic enough.
Yeah, hey, the poetic, cheesy, corny shit is usually the truth. That's what I tell other people. I don't give a fuck if I sound corny or cheesy. The corny, cheesy shit is true.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make fun of me all you want. There's a reason we get taught. All I'm saying is the shit we learned in kindergarten. You just forgot. I mean, hey, you know, shout out Mrs. Carpenter AM class, half days, Stewart Elementary. I'm gonna get doxxed now. But yeah, man, I think we should definitely do this again, man. Colin, where can people find you?
Y'all can find me on Instagram and TikTok. It's at Colin_coaches. I'm not on YouTube yet. Working on that. I have a lot of longer form stuff that I want to do. I like rambling, as y'all can probably tell by now. But yeah, Instagram and TikTok are the two places that I'm at. If y'all are following this guy, you're probably going to like what I do as well. So
right. Yeah, definitely. The kudos. I mean, if you guys really jive with the self-improvement, the self-love, then definitely give Colin a follow. He is a good example of radical empathy. And I dig it a lot. Radical self-improvement, radical love, radical empathy. That's kind of what I'm all about here, and that's what I think a big fella really is. So go subscribe. Like I said, all Colin's stuff will be in the description. If you guys want to see more of this conversational stuff where I just yap with people, let me know. This originally was my plan, but then I just kind of started yapping solo. But let me know what you guys think. We're fostering a better community for men, one day at a time for all people, and be the change you want to see in the world. Keep it simple, big fella.